Driving can sometimes be a relaxing escape from the worries of our day-to-day lives. On an open road, we feel confident enough to mute the part of our mind urging us to be alert and aware. We let down our guard, casting aside how quickly the quiet, serene streets and highways become a cacophony of gory destruction. Wayne, a young man from San Jose, had just moved to Southern California with his new bride. It was 1979, and the newlyweds were living in an apartment in Laguna Beach. Wayne worked as a server at Victoria Station, an upscale steak restaurant, while finishing school to become an architect. One night, Wayne was attending a colleague's birthday party at a bar in Fashion Island in Newport Beach. After having a few drinks, he realized it was getting late and wanted to get home to his young wife. Wayne left the bar and got into his '67 Dodge Dart. He headed north on Jamboree Road towards the 405 freeway. It was cool and clear, and Wayne was enjoying the calm of the late-night drive. The roads were empty, so he sped up in anticipation of seeing his love. Arriving at the 405 freeway, he entered the southbound on-ramp and began to accelerate down the curved freeway access. He could feel the crisp air blow across his face as the Dart gained speed. Still, there were no cars in sight, giving him freedom to accelerate even more. Just as he reached the end of the on-ramp, someone jumped out directly in front of the speeding car. Wayne immediately swerved out of the way, barely missing the unknown person, but in the process, he lost control of the vehicle. The car fishtailed, flew across all lanes of traffic, and slammed into the center divider. Wayne, dazed and confused, climbed out of the car unharmed. He then became furious as he scanned over the Dart that was now totaled. The force of the impact caused the front of the car to almost completely separate from the frame. "How am I still alive?" he said to himself. He then looked across the freeway to see the mystery menace still standing at the end of the on-ramp. Could this person have been trying to kill themselves? Was it some kind of a prank gone wrong? Either way, Wayne was sent into a rage. He bolted across the freeway, straight at the stranger. Luckily, there were no cars on the freeway at the time. "I'm gonna beat the crap out of this psycho," he thought while charging. When he reached the person, Wayne swung his arm back with his fist clenched and shaking from the adrenaline coursing through him, but then froze. The stranger was covered in blood. His clothes were ripped and stained dark red as they were soaked through. The blacktop beneath him was beginning to puddle as it dripped from his chin and fingertips, splashing at his feet. Both of his eyes were bleeding, and he had a large gash on his forehead. The bloody man turned and seemed to acknowledge Wayne, but was delirious from his head wounds. Wayne suddenly snapped out of his shock at the sight of this man and knew he had to do something before there was another crash or this man was killed. He would then herd the bleeding man off the freeway into a safer area, but would have to stop him from wandering back onto the freeway a few more times. Getting any information out of the man would prove impossible, as he wouldn't say very much, and what he did say was not understandable. The man was obviously in such a state of shock he couldn't possibly comprehend what was happening. Wayne was still buzzing from the adrenaline and struggling to collect himself. After a few minutes of corralling the blood-soaked stranger off the highway, the police and an ambulance finally arrived on scene. Wayne refused to be examined by the EMTs, stating, "He needs your help, not me," directing them to the severely injured man. He then explained what had occurred to the police, while the EMTs took care of the man. After relaying his story to the officers, one of the EMTs approached them and said they were able to bring the man back to a normal state and get some answers out of him. His name was Carlos, and apparently he had started his night at a bar by himself, but later had made some friends. They drank at the tavern for a couple hours, and when he decided it was time to leave, his two new acquaintances asked him for a ride. Carlos, seeing no reason not to trust these two men, obliged them. The three of them got into Carlos's car and headed out. They were joking and having a good time until they got close to the 405 freeway, where the two men grew quiet. As he slowed to turn on the freeway entrance, the man in the passenger seat threw the car into neutral and began bashing Carlos in the head and face with an unknown object, as the other man restrained him against his seat. After repeated blows to the head, Carlos was left defenseless. As blood poured down his face and the pain brought him in and out of consciousness, the two men violently moved his limp body to the rear seats. They drove his car for a short distance on the freeway, then slowed along the edge and pushed him from the moving vehicle. Carlos didn't remember anything else after that, just coming to in the back of an ambulance. The EMTs then took him to the hospital, while Wayne waited with the police for a tow truck. He never found out if the vicious attackers were ever caught, or even what happened to Carlos himself, but he will never forget that night. Will always remember to be alert and aware. The highways and streets of the world have always been a place where horribly gruesome things are possible. Yet we climb into our vehicles and either forget these dangers or believe it could never happen to us. Feeling safe is an illusion we fool ourselves into believing. Until we are face to face with the risk of death, we go about our day ignoring the hazards and horrors that fill the blood-stained blacktop.